Well, good evening to you. We're going to begin tonight with an in-depth investigation of one of Arkansas's most notorious crimes and the new technology that could help solve it once and for all. Channel 7's Andrew Mobley went searching for answers in the child murders at Robin Hood Hills. Who killed 3 8-year-old West Memphis boys more than 30 years ago?
From Arkansas's most watched news team, this is Channel 7 News at 6.
Good evening. An East Arkansas town is stunned tonight after the apparent murder of 3 young boys. I'm Andy Pearson.
I'm Gina Curry. Folks in West Memphis have their guards up tonight. Some of them not even letting their kids out of their sight.
On May 5th, 1993, the naked, hog-tied bodies of 8-year-olds Stevie Branch, Christopher Byers, and Michael Moore were found submerged in a drainage ditch in a patch of woods in West Memphis. Police suggested they had been raped and one boy castrated. They said one had been beaten to death, the others drowned. The shocking crime led many to believe it may have been the work of a satanic cult.
The satanic panic that gripped the community was palpable.
West Memphis police needed to find a culprit fast, but critics say they made critical mistakes in their investigation, mishandling or failing to collect evidence and failing to pursue leads.
Detective Ridge, what is the date that you sent the blood scrapings off to the crime lab to be analyzed?
They were never sent.
They were never sent?
That's correct.
Where are the blood samples at this time?
I don't know, sir. They're lost.
They soon arrested 3 teenagers, Jesse Miskelly, Damian Eccles, and Jason Baldwin, for murder. With little to go on but Miskelly's doubtful confession, they accused the boys of belonging to a satanic cult. Dan Stidham, then a young part-time public defender with no jury trial experience, was asked to represent Miskelly. Stidham quickly became convinced of his innocence. Stidham, like many others, believes West Memphis police coerced a false confession out of Miskelly, who was later said in court proceedings to have the IQ of a 7-year-old child. Police interviewed Miskelly for hours, but recorded less than an hour. The confession they got out of Miskelly had glaring inaccuracies.
There was a lot of shenanigans that were going on, prosecutorial misconduct. There was at one point where the lead prosecutor was meeting with my client at the jail behind my back. I didn't even know he was meeting with him, which is a clear violation.
According to Stidham, Judge David Burnett, who presided over the West Memphis 3 trials, took an inappropriately aggressive approach to the case, displaying a bias that the 3 were guilty and actually aiding the prosecution.
He manipulated the juries throughout the trials.
Despite a lack of physical evidence and dubious testimony from individuals who later recanted their statements, the 3 teenagers were convicted. Eccles was sentenced to death and Baldwin and Miskelly to life in prison. Years of appeals, legal maneuvering, and new DNA testing would follow. In 2011, a retrial seemed imminent, but instead of going to trial and risking defeat, the state of Arkansas offered the West Memphis 3 a deal to let them go free, an Alford plea in which they pled guilty but maintained their innocence.
And everybody thought we were going to get a new trial. Even the prosecutors admitted it. And then all of a sudden this Alford plea comes out of nowhere.
The West Memphis 3 took the deal in 2011 and were set free, but to this day the shadow of their convictions has hung heavy over their lives. Even some of the murdered boys' parents became convinced the West Memphis 3 were innocent.
They're innocent. They did not kill my son. And this is wrong, what the state of Arkansas is doing to cover their ass.
I want true justice, and now we'll never know. I mean, I thought there was going to be a trial, and them crackerjack police officers and attorneys that was on, or the investigators that was on this case in 1993, they messed up, and now the state of Arkansas, it's just like they want to sweep it under the rug, and it's over. It's over for everybody else, but it continues to live on for me every day.
But if Eccles, Baldwin, and Miskelly didn't kill the 3 little boys in West Memphis all those years ago, that means their real killer is still out there. Byers and Hicks both came to believe that police failed to adequately investigate someone they both knew. DNA testing in 2007 turned up no match for the West Memphis 3 at the crime scene, but it did turn up a partial match for one of the murdered boys' stepfathers and Pam's ex-husband, Terry Hobbs.
Mr. Hobbs, the other stepfather, we can't account for where he was every every hour and every minute.
Patrick Benka, part of Damien Echols' legal team, says that despite the evidence pointing to Hobbs coming to light in 2007, authorities made little to no effort investigating him.
An interview that they did of Mr. Hobbs subsequent to that finding that his hair was at the scene, the interview was comical. I mean, they literally asked him like 2 or 3 questions and said, "Good day."
Stidham says he and the West Memphis Three's other attorneys have a theory as to what may have happened.
We're going to have a smoking gun. We're going to have more than just the DNA. We're going to have corroboration. And there were 2 witnesses that saw Terry Hobbs with the boys that night, yelling at him to go home, which he denies.
Stidham has another theory as to who may have murdered the little boys, whose bodies were found a stone's throw from a Highway 40 truck stop. DNA belonging to other unknown individuals was found at the crime scene, DNA that can now be tested with new state-of-the-art technology.
If we get enough genetic markers from the new DNA testing, and we can compare it to my suspect, who's a long-haul truck driver.
Stidham says his suspect is currently in prison for other slayings. The FBI says it has a pool of hundreds of suspects, all long-haul truckers, for nearly 1,000 suspected serial killings along America's highways. Stidham didn't divulge his suspect's name. The 2 theories we've mentioned and a myriad others have been offered over the years, but now, finally, we may soon have answers. In April this year, the Arkansas Supreme Court approved new DNA testing in the case, ending a 2-year legal battle fought by Echols' lawyers to get the green light to retest DNA evidence previously thought to have been lost by the West Memphis Police Department. The DNA will be tested using the MVAC system, an advanced instrument that can actually extract minute particles from inside fabric. Echols' lawyers will use it to extract DNA from the shoelaces that bound the 3 murdered boys.
They're going to go in there and literally unknot those ligatures where they know that those skin cells are tucked in that fabric, and then they're going to extract them. I think that there's no question that we're going to find out who tied those knots.
Benka says results for the new DNA testing will come back early next year. If it can determine who tied the knots, the West Memphis Three may have a chance at the exoneration they have long fought for, and the real killer may soon face justice.
I'm a full-time judge and I can't get involved in the actual defense, but I'll resign my judgeship immediately if we were to get a new trial.
That is Andrew Mobley reporting for us. For more on this story and additional coverage of the murders of Stevie Branch, Michael Moore, and Christopher Byers, log on to KATV.com.